TV Thursday, the 13th of November, nowhere near the transfer window again. I know I keep saying that, but the news and the speculation in the gossip columns and online is starting to build up again. We have a massive update on the situation regarding Elliot Anderson, where it might not look good for January, but then it could look really interesting and a serious possibility for Manchester United in the summer. Or are Man United actually just going to go and risk it and try and make something happen in January? Lots of reports coming out last night. Ben Jacobs was at the heart of everything that was going on gossip-wise last night around all Manchester United social media accounts. We're going to get into everything that he said, including Angelo Stiller, Conor Gallagher, on top of the Elliot Anderson news and what's going on there as well. I know you're all interested to see exactly and listen to what he's actually said and get into the conversation. So get into the live chat. Give me your thoughts while you're in live. If you are catching up later on, of course, please do make sure that you get your comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you're thinking after what Mr. Jacobs said last night, which was very, very interesting, and it has definitely sparked debate again amongst most Manchester United fans. I can see lots of conversations going on online. Let's get straight into what he said first of all so we can get the conversation rolling. But speaking on Talk Sport last night, Ben Jacobs was talking about Manchester United's transfer targets, who we might actually be in for, what the realistic outcomes could be for both January and the summer window coming up in 2026. Elliot Anderson will be a whole lot cheaper than the 100 to 120 million reported figure. That coming from Ben Jacobs himself. In the summer, there are provisions in the player's contract to sign him cheaper, but they are complicated and variable. Now, what does that mean? Obviously, we're not going to know the exact details of that contract and what's written in it, but you can only look at previous transfers and the history of certain transfers like this when there are certain stipulations, there are certain clauses in contracts that players can move to clubs. For instance, just an example like the Victor Gyökeres one in the summer, where there was a certain number of football clubs that he could go to. Well, in his agent's eyes, that was, remember that whole saga. There's clubs that he could go to that were going to be a cheaper transfer fee for them than any other club. Things like this. Like there will be a clause in, for instance, Matthias Cunha's contract before he came to Manchester United. He signed that contract knowing that Wolves would definitely get a certain amount of money that they were happy with, but that would only happen if he went to certain football clubs. Same with Antoine Semenyo, who's just signed his new deal. We're hearing now that Liverpool are all over him and he wants to move in January. There'll only be certain clubs that he can move to in a period of time or for a certain fee. Complications like that, a certain fee has to be met, and different, I would say, different other clauses and variables, as Ben Jacobs has said there. Look, we're not looking for the minor details. We're not looking for all of that stuff. Manchester United will deal with that themselves. And I'm sure if Ben Jacobs knows, Manchester United know, which is why we can look at this and say, well, United now, if they have got any sort of inkling as to potential deals happening or how they can happen, what they're going to have to do to make them happen, then they are going to be preparing themselves for either the January or the summer transfer window next year. So I think in a position now with what Ben Jacobs has said last night, Manchester United will feel very confident that Elliot Anderson is going to be a Manchester United player, especially off the back, well, this is a fan looking at it, off the back of listening to what Andy Mitten said last week and then Ben Jacobs this week, because this is brand new information. This is new to everybody. No one knew that this price was going to be cheaper in the summer transfer window. So again, though, it takes us straight back to that question that we have been asking most people on my show here as well, and I think a lot of fans have just been debating in general online anyway, which is, would you go and pay more to make Elliot Anderson happen in January, knowing that he's going to be cheaper in the summer transfer window? Now, the problem you've got there is, and the only issue I've got is, I can see the business sense in it, and if United can save, let's say, 40 million off that so-called 100 million asking price, or what Nottingham Forest is saying anybody's going to have to pay in January, because the clause in his contract will definitely not allow him to leave for that price in January. Look, I'm no expert in that area, but you just know, don't you, that is not going to be there. So the issue here is really, do Manchester United want Elliot Anderson? If he's a top target for Ruben Amorim, there is an avenue in there. Does he want to go to Manchester United in the summer if there is no European football at Manchester United? Now, that's the gamble. That's the risk that you're taking there. Do you pay more to get him now and just get him in and help and have him in to help you get to European places? Or do you risk it? Do you trust in what Manchester United and Ruben Amorim are doing? This is the obviously the management team. So Jim Radcliffe, Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox will be discussing. Are we confident that we can get European football with what we've got this season, or with what else we're going to talk about in a moment regarding other potential targets for January for United? So this is the thing. It's like all of a sudden things change. 6 months of a season, 5-6 months of a season from January to June is a very, very long time, and that can all move. The goalposts can move. Only yesterday we was talking about Carlos Baleba still being a Manchester United target. David Ornstein was speaking when asked the question. He still wants Manchester United. Manchester United still want him. Nothing has changed from what he knows and who he has spoken to. So is Baleba already set up for the summer transfer window? Is it a case of Manchester United deciding between Baleba and Elliot Anderson now for the summer? But we do know that there is significant interest in Elliot Anderson, and he is a top target for Manchester United. I can see United from this, and just for instance, let's just go through what Ben Jacobs has said as well regarding everything else on Manchester United and what could potentially happen this transfer window, of course, because there are other midfielders that Manchester United might bring in to get us to that summer transfer window to get Elliot Anderson on a cheaper transfer fee, and that would definitely suit Manchester United better. It's the gamble of not having European football, though, that really, I think, worries me more than anything as a fan. But Ben Jacobs also says, as for a January midfielder, this is after he dropped the news on Elliot Anderson, because obviously in what he said it's only going to be a summer move, unless United go crazy and surprise everybody in January, like we just said. But as for January signings goes, Conor Gallagher is currently the more feasible option for Manchester United. Again, I remember doing a video on Conor Gallagher, just looking at I just researched into what he was doing over at Athletic and his game time and not being in favour and potentially wanting that move in the summer to Manchester United. Then, of course, there were a few more journalists started to run the story, and the weeks go by, days go by, getting closer to the end of December and that window opening, then these stories are just going to keep on rolling up now. And I think there is a real potential for Conor Gallagher at Manchester United. I think it will have a certain, if we go for this, and this is just my guess on this alone and just where we're at with it, I think it fits what United need right now in terms of an experienced Premier League midfielder who is available now in January and could help us see ourselves into the Champions League, into the top 5 this season. It's there and it's doable for United if the midfielder comes in. I think that's what Manchester United might be looking at. And then apparently, going off the other reports this week, earlier on this week, Manchester United would be open to a option to buy or an obligation to buy at the end of that deal, because Atletico want to sell. They want to sell Conor Gallagher. They don't want to do the loan. If there is going to be a loan, there is going to have to be some financial benefits to it at the end. And still, we have got no guarantee that they would be open to the loan with an obligation. They may just want a fee in January, which I don't know if Manchester United are willing to do. I think the money is there for United. If they want, say, for instance, in the region of 45 million for Conor Gallagher, I don't think that's out of the way. I think that's a fair price for the player and where he's at and the qualities that he's got. But I don't know. I think United would always try and get the cheapest deal possible first of all. But it's all going to come down to what Manchester United needs. And Ruben will know. Ruben will know that his job is really going to come under question if United don't get into Europe. He wants to be at Manchester United for a long time. He wants to see all of the younger talent coming through. He wants to win the Premier League with Manchester United. To do so, he needs to continue winning games, like he has said himself, to earn the right to have that time. Because I think if he gets through this season and United are in the Champions League or in Europe, let's just say Ruben Amorim makes the top 6, which will inevitably, going off the way things are at the moment with the coalition and the extra Champions League place, top 6 will get you a guaranteed Europa League place. That is 100% there for Manchester United this season. If he got that, I think he gets a new contract. I think it just gets signed there, I feel. I think United will commit to him. I know there's the extra year on top, what he can have, but I think if he does do well this season, he gets us back up there competing again, I think Manchester United would be willing to back him and go as far as giving him a new deal. Again, just how I see the situation, but he knows this. And Ruben knows the importance of this January transfer window and what's going on. He knows the situation with Kobbie Mainoo and the unrest behind the scenes there that could cause, or not him, but his agent could cause the football club. And obviously agents will continue to get into players' heads. Joshua Zirkzee also wanting out of Manchester United. It's a massive month for United because it really could determine what happens for the future of Ruben Amorim and obviously Manchester United's big plan under Ineos going forward. So Conor Gallagher, 6 months. Are you willing to invest that money? If they don't want to take that loan deal, are you willing to go out and say, right, there's 45 million, let's just get this deal done? Take Conor Gallagher, bring him into United, put him in there alongside Bruno Fernandes. And that then, I think, would give Manchester United probably just enough to make at least top 6. Because there's no guarantees, obviously. We know this. AFCON is really going to derail our form and our progress, I feel. I think we have got enough in there to manage just about, but an extra body in midfield would definitely help Manchester United, even past AFCON. We've got to look past it because United, when we get Mbeumo, Ahmad and Mazraoui back from AFCON, are still going to be able to have... They're still going to have enough time to turn the season around, even if we drop off a little bit in them games. But I've already mentioned the games that we're playing in that period. They're not the worst fixtures for Manchester United. They're not. And they might not even see all of them out yet. But still, midfield has to be priority. Forget AFCON. Forget what we're going to miss there. Them players are coming back anyway. It's not the end of the world. But the midfield has to be sorted for Manchester United. It isn't strong enough, not physical enough, and it doesn't hold any control in games. And I think that's the main thing. Conor Gallagher will do simple things. He will keep it basic. He will keep it simple. He's got the engine to see out 90 minutes consistently week in, week out. And for Manchester United's fixture schedule, I think you have then got an option. You could easily see a game out by bringing a Casemiro one alongside Conor Gallagher. Take Bruno out the equation. Them options are there then for Manchester United to maybe see out a game a bit easier because we just haven't got that player in midfield that thinks that way, I don't think. And I know Bruno Fernandes brings his qualities in other areas, but if you are struggling and it's backs to the wall, you want them players in there that can just see that game out. And I know, again, I don't want to bring this down on Bruno Fernandes because you all know that I love him and what he does. But sometimes just the simple things in their moments could help Manchester United. And to have the option there of someone like Conor Gallagher probably would be a massive benefit for Ruben Amorim and just a different way of playing. So I think that's how I see it anyway regarding why you would bring Conor Gallagher in. Let me know what you think of the news and the Conor Gallagher situation alongside Elliot Anderson from what Ben Jacobs has said there, everybody. Get into the comments section. Give me your thoughts on this, the Conor Gallagher one and Elliot Anderson in terms of January. Because there is a story also going around and it's come from Indy Cali, and I said that with a bit of a laugh because it is known to be, that account is known to be throwing out some crazy stories as well. I'm not saying they're not true at all because he nailed the Carlos Baleba one in the summer, which he has lived off quite a bit on, to be honest. But he's also running the story on Antoine Semenyo to Liverpool at the moment. But he's saying that Manchester United's owners, Sir Jim Radcliffe, the club, the management team, whatever you want to call it, are going to allow Manchester United and Ruben Amorim to spend 100 to 110 million this January. Just so happens to be the price tag of Elliot Anderson. You can see where he's going with it, can't you? And look, whether that's true or not, we don't know. I've asked the question continuously that United do have money to spend. I think we do have that money there. I've asked how much have we got left from the sales at the end of the window. Obviously, we didn't buy Matthias Cunha on this year's budget. That was the one before. So we can take that out. You then add Bryan Mbeumo, Benjamin Sesko and Senna Lamens together. And obviously work out how much we spent. But then don't forget, Manchester United did sell around about 60 plus millions worth in the last week of the window in Anthony and Garnacho to Real Betis and Chelsea respectively. So realistically, there is probably money there, and if it's pure profit from likes of Garnacho, then that could really benefit Manchester United. The tour, which is coming up in Saudi next calendar year, that will bring money and revenue in for Manchester United. Are they willing to sell? The story yesterday from ESPN and Mark Ogden, that United feel like they can recoup all of the money they spent on Joshua Zirkzee. Are they going to make a transfer happen rather than a loan if players want to leave? Maybe this is the conversations we were hearing were happening at Carrington between Zirkzee's representatives and Manchester United that was being reported. All of that to throw into the equation. Manchester United have got money to spend in January. It's whether or not they want to save that money that Ben Jacobs has said in January and then spend that for substantially less in the summer transfer window for Elliot Anderson. Look, we want him. I think the player would be keen on Manchester United. Again, we've got Conor Gallagher. Does that then derail the Carlos Baleba story from David Ornstein from yesterday? It wasn't really a story. It was just a bit of an update. There's a lot of moving parts in this. Which way would you go? Get into the comments section and let me know what you're thinking, everybody. ATKO says, we must invest in Elliot in January. His stock will rise. We will get a return on overpayment by getting Champions League, and he won't be playing against us when he peaks. He is the best midfielder since Jude peaked. Big statement there from ATKO. I like it. By Gomez in January, if the money is there, but couldn't see it's happening, I don't think Wolves would want to sell again. That's the problem you've got. It's if you want to buy anybody with proven experience from a Premier League club in January, you're going to have to pay over the top. So if you're going to pay over the top for Gomez, you might as well go and pay over the top for Elliot Anderson, is how I see it, because Wolves are still going to drive a really hard bargain. They're going to want 50 plus million for Gomez, and that's a lot of money, considering that that's not going to be a million miles away from what Manchester United will be spending on Elliot Anderson in the summer. But how badly do they want the player in? Look, all of this savings that you could make from January to the summer transfer window, if you decided to leave going for the player in January and then go for him in the summer, all of them savings and everything that could potentially happen there get completely dwarfed. And let's not forget this, they get blown out the water if Man United qualify for the Champions League this year. The money involved in what Ineos have got set up for match days now at Old Trafford, the prize money alone from the Champions League right now. Manchester United guaranteed in the Champions League next season to have, I would feel, 12 games. That's normally a full campaign in the Champions League. Manchester United would be racking up the cash. The sponsors would be all over. Let's not forget there is a new shirt sponsor coming in at the end of this year. If that new shirt sponsor, sleeve sponsor, knows that United are in the Champions League, the way that Manchester United would market this is considerably more than a 30-40 million pound saving on a player because you bought him in the summer transfer window rather than the January transfer window. That's what I think the decision makers are probably discussing now. And Ruben Amorim will be involved in this. Like Jason Wilcox said in that interview the other day, we're in constant dialogue with the recruitment team. There are weekly meetings between Ruben, myself, Christopher Vivell, through every single potential transfer that could happen in January and going into the summer transfer window. This actually is really exciting news for Manchester United fans because you can actually see these deals happening now. This is not just smoke. There is fire behind it, I feel, because we've seen what Man United did in the summer transfer window. They were big signings. So if we're linked with Anderson and there is big players, journalist-wise, talking about these deals, then I actually, as a United fan, would get a little bit excited. I'd allow myself to get a bit excited that we could actually be getting these deals done. The guarantee is Champions League football. It gets you anybody that you want for Manchester United. And that is really worth getting excited about, I think. And again, I throw that into the equation when talking and discussing whether or not we should go for an Elliot Anderson in January or a Conor Gallagher. Which way would you go? Because I actually do think United are going to have to spend money on Conor Gallagher as well. If we're going to spend money on Gallagher, I'd just say go out and get Elliot Anderson. That's what I would say. Anyway, just spend the extra money. You're going to spend it in the summer anyway. And I think we have got enough left to bring Elliot Anderson in. Because let's not forget, it's only going to go into a transfer structure alongside all of the other historical payments United have to pay out. Could United afford to structure a deal for Anderson in January to meet this year's financial restrictions for PSR? Yes, I could see that, especially if United do move Joshua Zirkzee on. And I think a lot of the journalists have also been alluding to this, that if United do make sales, then there is more than enough room to bring other players in. That's the interesting bit in it. It's if there's sales as well. Right, let's get a few comments in there. I went on again off that comment from ATKO there, but sell Garte and Mainu, let Casemiro go, Gomez and Anderson in, and then a left wing back, says Grandpa 70. Let's see what else we've got in here as well. Thought Gallagher was 30 million to buy. There's a few different stories going out, Jem, in terms of how much Atletico actually wanted for Conor Gallagher. So again, it's one of them. Is it 45 million with the loan? As in, take the loan. Atletico are not getting any money to replace Conor Gallagher. So therefore, Manchester United would have to pay more to subsidise that. Do you get what I mean by that? Maybe that's where that comes from. If you was going to buy Conor Gallagher outright, maybe United could negotiate a cheaper deal with Atletico this January. But we will see. We will see on that one. But at the moment, the only word I've heard on Conor Gallagher is a loan, which is what I think is the right call. But I do think that if United want Conor Gallagher on loan, then they are going to have to put some form of incentive in there, and there will be a buy option, I think. I don't know if it will be a conditional buyout, a conditional buy option. That is, if he helps Manchester United qualify for the Champions League, then we have to buy him. If he hits a certain amount of appearances, we have to buy him. I would think something like this. United have to buy Conor Gallagher off the back of a 6-month loan if we qualify for the Champions League. At that point, I would say I've got no issue with that, because Casemiro's leaving in the summer and Conor Gallagher comes in as another rotational squad player. United are in the Champions League and have lost Casemiro's wages off the books. They're gone, and we can bring in 2 more midfielders as well. Maybe 1 more, I don't know. But I think Manchester United's midfield would be transformed. And let's not forget, I know with all the excitement of these big players and big transfer fees coming in, you still have got some of the academy players, like we spoke about last night, that could potentially fill some of the gaps in the squad as well. And I'm only saying filling gaps in the squad because I think Manuel Ugarte will also be sold. So if he is sold, it just, again, it makes you feel a little bit excited about what might actually happen coming into the summer transfer window and even this January. Markash says it's weird. Dependent on... Oh, sorry, I don't know what that was there, mate. It was totally different to the subject. Unless he is in the plans as a starting 11 plan for next season, then no, we go out and get the starting 11 player, and no matter what it costs. Okay, I get what you're saying there, Simon, with that one. Unless Conor Gallagher is going to be a starting 11 player for the summer, you think we should spend the money elsewhere. So... by that, unless Ruben sees Conor Gallagher starting games next season in Man United starting 11, then don't go and get him. Go and get a player like Elliot Anderson, who you know for certain will be starting games next season. I think that's what you're saying now. No, I totally get that approach. And I think that, again, is what... I think they're the numbers that are going to be crunched by Manchester United and being discussed right now. I think that's where we're at. So let's just see it. Let's just see what happens. United are buying this January. There is a chance of Champions League football. Saley will bring a buy forward to try and facilitate it, says Glyn. Remember, Cunha is on last year, not this. We do have the money to buy Anderson now. I did mention that actually, that this season's spend did not include this year's spend. For the financial PSI year, did not include the Matthias Cunha transfer fee. Justin Bumo, Sesko and Lamens. That was it. So add them up. That's what United have spent this year so far. Joe in the chat says, "Hi Adam, I think Elliot Anderson, are good, but not worth twice the money of Conor Gallagher. And could we get rid of Dalot and replace him with Konza from Villa? He plays at centre back and at right back. No, is the answer. I'm pretty certain Konza just signed a deal. No." I know McGinn has just signed a new deal at Villa, and I think Rodgers has just signed a new deal at Villa, actually. It might not be Konza. But no, I don't think Villa would be open to letting Konza go, mate. He's a good player, Konza, so I don't see it happening. Glyn says, "Anderson isn't twice the player of Gallagher. Remind me when Gallagher was on top of almost every single stat for a midfielder in the Premier League." Look, that's the debate. Like, again, the quality of the player. I do think Elliot Anderson is worth a lot more than Conor Gallagher. Let's not forget, Conor Gallagher now is on what? This will be his fourth big club. Palace, Chelsea, Atleti, and then if he moves to United. So, yeah, some people would call him a bit of a journeyman at that point as well. I don't want to be disrespectful in saying that, and I'm not, I promise you, because I do think Gallagher has qualities, and it just shows you the state of Man United's midfield right now, in that we actually think that Conor Gallagher is an upgrade on what we've actually got. So, is really interesting. Keep them comments coming in, everybody. This debate is starting to liven up, and I'm enjoying this, actually. But Ben Jacobs, just to go over everything that he was actually saying, as well, has also talked about Angelo Stiller and the potential of him coming to Manchester United. And this is what Ben Jacobs said on Stiller. It's very similar to what Fabrizio Romano has said as well. Manchester United have Angelo Stiller quite high in their thinking. The player is very highly appreciated by both Christopher Vivell and Jason Wilcox, head of recruitment and director of football at Manchester United. Wilcox and Vivell. So that, again, is another player there that Manchester United would look at and go, yes, his name keeps on coming up and coming up. Has been scouted for a very, very long time by the football club as well, and he's already well known by Christopher Vivell. So he is a player we need to keep an eye on, and he's another option for Manchester United going into this transfer window. I don't think Stiller would come in January. Stuttgart would not sell him, according to Romano anyway, in January. So it's whether or not Manchester United rate him higher than the other summer targets. I don't think they do. But I don't think Manchester United want to be taken for a ride regarding the valuations of these players, and they are obviously making backups to that. They're not going to spend over 100 million on Carlos Baleba. I'm pretty certain they won't do that. And no matter what the player says, according to Ornstein, and what the club wants, according to Ornstein, there still hasn't been a price put out there yet that we know of. And Baleba, I don't think United are going to go anywhere near. If Brighton try and hold out for anything near what they think, or rumoured to be thinking, around the Caicedo sort of price range. Never going to happen. And that's not taking anything away from the quality of Baleba either. I know he's not been playing well this season, but he's still highly regarded by Manchester United scouts and recruitment and the management team at the club. So he's just not going to come to United if they want that stupid price for him. It's not going to happen. So players like Angelo Stiller are going to be there in the reckoning for Manchester United. Conor Gallagher, I think they're the options down. It's gone a bit cold in terms of talk on Adam Wharton, but that might just be from what David Ornstein said at weekend, where he said Adam Wharton isn't even listening or looking at transfer news at the moment. There isn't anything concrete on the table, and he will only come to the table once his agent says there is a real, genuine offer there. So we can look at Adam Wharton at the moment. I think he's down the pecking order in terms of what Manchester United are going to go and do. So let's see how this develops regarding the Elliot Anderson, Conor Gallagher situation. I think this is going to be the first move on what happens in January, personally. And then we might see these other names start to come into the fray. But again, selling players, what we can get done there, what's happening with Mainu, that is all going to be, I think, is all going to play a massive part in what happens with Manchester United incomings this January or even the summer transfer window. Let's get some more comments on this, please. There is loads of people in on this, and the debate is definitely a good one in there right now. I can see loads of people bringing up different opinions regarding all of these midfielders. Even like Sesko Loveray says, we have Sekou Kone. If Manchester United doesn't have money to buy Anderson, it's going to be a bit of a different step up for him. Integration and time is going to be needed with someone like Kone. Whereas Elliot Anderson would just go bang, in you go, and let's go. It's as crazy as saying, and this is probably the biggest compliment that I could give Elliot Anderson, is that if he came to Manchester United in January, you could start booking your Champions League travel for next season. That's it. That's a big statement, isn't it? That's how much I think of Elliot Anderson anyway. That, for me, is a game-changing transfer for this football club. And I'm sure Manchester United are looking at this. Ruben Amorim absolutely loves him. We know this. So if he loves him, he goes straight in that side. And then he's got his midfield. And then I think his system starts to take on a new lease of life. He can adapt it in different ways then. And I think this is how Ruben thinks. I'm guessing. Again, obviously, just my opinion from what I've listened to, what he said, and what we've seen on the pitch. I think it adapts again. And then I think the players are more comfortable with it, because when you've got a player of the quality of Elliot Anderson in that midfield who can control games, it makes it easier for the defence to move forward into that midfield, or the 10s to drop back into that midfield. It makes it it's not seamless, probably the wrong word, because there are going to be bad times with the system still, even if you bring in better players. But I think it makes it easier. The better the player and the more comfortable the player in that sort of role makes everybody else's job so much more simpler. It's like, for instance, you're bringing Manuel Ugarte onto a system there that he's just not good enough to play in. You've got Diogo Dalot at left wing back, who is not a left-footed player naturally, and he's not good enough to be a wing back. He's an all-right full-back with someone in front of him that he's got cover with, that he can bomb past on his own. He's struggling. And when you've got two cogs in the machine that aren't the best or as greased up and as operating as smoothly as the rest of the cogs in the machine, it is going to have problems. It isn't going to work as well as it could do. And bringing in them new parts and bringing in them better players is going to change the way that we see Ruben's system. It only works for a manager and their system if they have the players to play the way that they want to. Some managers will come in and adapt, and they're the managers that you would probably say don't have a long time or have a long spell at the football club. Some managers have a way of playing and it will take them to a certain level. Case in point now is Eddie Howe. I agree completely with what Jamie Carragher said the other day on that one. He cannot take that team any further than what he has done. He's done. He's maxed out. He's hit his ceiling. Champions League football, domestic trophy. He isn't going to be winning Champions Leagues with Newcastle United. He isn't going to be winning Premier Leagues with Newcastle United. They need another manager on top who is going to ruffle feathers and take that team and club to the next level. I don't think Eddie Howe's the man to do that. But he had a system and it took him so far. Pep Guardiola had a system, needed backing and massive amounts of money to play it. Same with Jurgen Klopp. He got given the money and the time to do it because Liverpool were on a steady progression from when he came in. Mikel Arteta needs time and money to get his system in. He's now 5 years in to his projects, but they are gradually getting better and better. And this is what Ruben's method is, I think, here. And this is what his system would bring also. It's that he knows that he has to win games just to give him that time to keep on changing and keep on adapting his system and making it better. It's not going to happen overnight. So he's had to, I think, he's had to swallow that pill and change a tiny little bit. And he has done. I think with the better players in place, and this is what he's thinking, and I think the club are right behind him with it as well, from what Wilcox has said anyway, he knows that this system will work. and he's not going to come out and say it because everyone who's given the right amount of effort, the manager's not going to come out and out them at all or anything like that. But he needs better players to play this system. You need elite players in that midfield in particular to make this system work. And then you need adequate backups to give them players a rest when needed. You could maybe say that Elliot Anderson and Conor Gallagher is exactly the type of combination he needs right now. Backed up then by Aseku Kone, who could come in at some point also. But I still feel Manchester United will be looking, and this is a crazy one again, but I still think we'll be looking for a Bruno Fernandes replacement. We have to be. I don't think the system is complete because Bruno's not going to be the future of this football club. He's not. And I don't think he's going to get a new deal on the terms that he would want. I think he wants to see his contract out personally now. And I'm happy for that. I am. I'm okay with that. I think Bruno has earned that right. But I do think the club are actually looking ahead already and trying to find the Bruno replacement for when that day comes. And that would be a perfect number 8 next to the perfect number 6s that we're getting now. And then you've completely evolved into a different side altogether. And I think that's where everything changes for Manchester United. And then you're competing then at that point for Premier Leagues and Champions League season in, season out. But that's maybe 2 to 3 years down the line. And I think that's realistic when you look at it that way. But the here and now is get the top 4, get the top 5. And if it's doable, go and invest into it is what I say. Let's get some more comments in on this. I know I've gone on a little bit more there, but let's get some more people's thoughts on this. Gallagher is a great squad player to have. He doesn't have to be a starter for the future, but we need 3 to 4 central midfielders, not one massive price one. So buying him in January and Anderson in the summer is sensible. Sensible. Does everyone else agree with that from what Cal said there? Gallagher is only 25, says Jal. Only 25 years old. He is about to hit his prime. Language problems is why he could struggle a little at Atletico Madrid. He's a very good player. No, he is a very good player. I don't think anybody in this chat this morning has said that Conor Gallagher isn't a good player. I would love to have him in my squad right now, considering our other options. I do think that that's what we have to look at, and that's how we have to look at it right now. A building block. And someone to really benefit Manchester United in the long run, which kind of goes in line with what Ruben said from what Romano reported, that United are only going to be buying players for the long haul. Newcastle and their troublesome striker showing instability. True that Champions League is too much in their season. Let's see what else we've got in here. We need 3 midfielders. If Bruno and Casemiro leave, considering Agate is not favoured by Amorim, won't be shocked if he left. I've said this before. I wouldn't be surprised if all Man United's midfield is gone in the summer. I would not be surprised by it. And that sounds crazy, but look at the situations to all of the players and tell me that there isn't an issue of some kind for every single central midfielder at Man United at the moment. You've heard all the stories. We've talked about every single one of them in one way or another so far, just this season alone. And we're only, 3 months in? So, yeah, there is a situation developing with every single Man United midfielder right now. I think Bruno's the safest. And we've seen how close he was to possibly leaving in the summer. So, yeah, the others are definitely up there. And I think, again, like we said before, are they willing to be part of a squad and not play that much? I don't think them players are. Agate's young. Mainu's very young. Casemiro, you can see, just finishing his career off somewhere else. They'll want to play Agate and Mainu. They won't want to be squad players, I don't think. I think United, I think they're preparing to rebuild that midfield completely going into the summer transfer window. And I think it starts in January. Anderson's family have been telling people in Newcastle that he will come back to Newcastle next season. I don't think he will. I really don't think he will. And that's simply because I don't see Newcastle getting any form of European football or going off the way that it's going. They just don't have, I don't think, the right setup there right now. I think they've blown out. And every time they do get European football, they completely fall off. And it's happened again this season. Total midfield rebuild in the summer required. Get the engine room right, and we may just have a chance of seeing the good times coming. Still, it is the ideal replacement for Bruno. 100% different player altogether, though, Danny, on that one. I don't see Stiller being a Bruno replacement. He doesn't have the engine, a speed, or that type of that game. I think he's more of a Carrick type player, Angelo Stiller. I think that's how I see him. Stiller is the perfect replacement again. This is Austin now saying it's for Bruno. Anderson, a replacement for Casemiro. And Buadi, a replacement for Rigate. I'd say Anderson was probably a better replacement for Bruno Fernandes, to be honest, out of them. Because he does like to move forward as well, Elliot Anderson. Takes a good penalty as well, as we've seen at weekends, which is good. Can't Ruben bring those sporting midfielders in? Are they good enough? Adam, Hjulmand? No. Otherwise, I think we would have tried to. And I think the pricing on them players, I don't think Man United are going to dip into the European market for a midfielder if them players are a similar price to the ones that we're looking at that are in the Premier League. I only think we go European if the English Premier League players, I know they're not all English, by the way, sorry, but the Premier League players that have been here for a few years, the ones we're talking about, Wharton, Anderson, Baleba, these sorts of players, if they're a similar price to them, then they're not going to go for them. The only way we go into Europe is if them players are a cheaper option for Manchester United and the finances won't stretch to the players they really want. I do believe it is them three. The big players for Man United are Anderson, Baleba are top at the moment by the sounds of it. And then you're looking at the other players in there. Gallagher is a genuine target for United. We know this now. Obviously, the likes of Buadi is a younger option from Lille. And, of course, João Gomez from Wolves that we reported on Monday. That is now doing the rounds as well. I think he is another genuine option for Manchester United also. So, unless one of the Stillers of this world, Hjulmand type of players, is a lot cheaper, but the pricing that we're hearing is near enough just as high as it is for the English players and the players playing in the Premier League right now. So I don't think they're going to go for it. And it's not buying an English player that I think United are going for. The point I'm trying to make is they want Prem-proven players. So that's what they need in midfield. They cannot rebuild a midfield with zero Premier League experience. That would be suicidal in terms of the financials and for the club moving forward. It's just not going to work. You need experience in there, and I'm not surprised we're looking at Gallagher. I'm not surprised we're looking at Elliot Anderson. Them two in a Man United midfield, yeah, I think that would definitely transform everything. In terms of the actual midfielders, I mean, just put your names in there. Just give me two. Any of the midfielders we've spoken about this season, put in the live comment section if you're live with us right now. And if you are watching later on and you've got to this point, then please put in the comment section the two midfielders. Let's just work with two. I think there is a chance of a third. But let's just work with two because I think two's a guarantee for Man United. So the two midfielders you would go to. You can go all out and go a Wharton and an Anderson. Big money for both. Baleba, Anderson. And you can just drop it down like a Gallagher, a Buadi, a Gomez. Go with the right combination that you think Manchester United should go for. Your opinion alone, not what you think will happen, but just what you would do. Get in there and let me know. I am a little worried that we might have too much to do to get into the top four once we get to January window with the AFCON coming up. If we get an injury or two in that midfield from now until then, this is why I think January is so important, mate. So important. We have signed a player called Orozco as well. He is going to be coming in the summer. He is already signed and he will be joining Manchester United once he turns 18. So you can see Orozco in Manchester United's colours come July next year. That deal is done. A 17-year-old. So effectively we have another 18-year-old holding midfielder of our own. Maybe Manchester United are looking at two players because we've already got Orozco and Kone coming through. That's something to think about as well. I'm seeing Anderson, Amber Labour, Anderson and Stiller, Anderson and Wharton, Belaber and Anderson, Anderson and Stiller. Lots and lots of combinations in there. But Anderson and Stiller seems to be a very popular one amongst the live chat right now. So, yeah, I think that is something that could be on the cards. Definitely. Thank you, everybody, for all the likes, by the way. We're already well over 200. Cheers, everybody who's tuned in, watching. Get your comments in, and of course, make sure you do pop a like on the video if you're enjoying the content. Also, make sure that you do hit that subscribe button as well to stay up to date with all of the Manchester United news going around the football club. We're there on match days. I'm bringing you all of the news from the academy all the way through to the first team. And well done to Manchester United's women last night. Fantastic result for the ladies. I watched the game. It was brilliant. The goals in that game. Oh my God, if you haven't seen it, go watch the highlights back. Absolutely brilliant performance last night against a well-established European side there in the women's game. 15,000. Almost doubling the amount that the women would get at Leigh Sports Village. The highest attendance in the club's history for a home European game as well. So congratulations to the women and Skinner, the manager. That's 3 wins in a row in the Champions League so far for the ladies. And of course, everybody who went, well done, supporting the women. And hopefully they can continue this when they come up against Wolfsburg next. Another good women's team, by the way, as well. But yeah, massive progress being made by Man United in so many different areas, and the women included in that. So buzzing with that last night, and again, brilliant goals. Tell you what, though, the goal for PSG, whoa, what an absolute doozy that was. Definitely go for Anderson and Wharton. If we get those two, then we are challenging for the Premier League next season. We must get a second striker also. I love the confidence there. Brits Abroad just renewed his membership with FUTV as well there. Thank you for that, mate. Super chat in from Manny says, Anderson will be here regardless of price. Done deal. I think the question is who the other 2 midfielders will be. Well, one of them probably is Orozco, and I do think that it is, well, 2 guarantees. 2. I think there's 2 midfielders coming in, because I think they're counting Orozco as another one. Deborah said there, he said 18,000. Oh, that's even better than Deborah. I just seen what Simon Stone posted this morning. I think he said in excess of 15, so if there was 18 there, even better. Brilliant attendance. Absolutely fantastic for the United women last night. Stu, how are you doing, mate? It's good to see you in the chat there all the way over in Oz. Hope you're having a nice break, matey. Let's see what else we've got in here as well. Max Skinner is a bloody good trainer, says Gary. He's doing well, mate. There was a point when they wanted him out, some of the fans, actually. And look at sticking by him and what he's done now. Different, innit? Different when you back your manager with the right players as well. And let's see if that does happen for Manchester United. And let's see if it happens in January for Ruben as well. It is very important. Do you actually all think that if United brought a midfielder in, we could make Champions League now? Are we all thinking the same here? Are we all on the same page? Like we're listening to the journalists, we'll listen to potential signings that could probably come in. Does everybody think that Man United are in this Champions League fight now? If we bought somebody in January, let's just single it to that and say, if United went out and bought a midfielder in January, do you think we can make top 5? Because it does look like, again, that the British teams are going to smash the European cohesion points and we're going to get top 5. I tell you what, it could be a real bonus for Manchester United if we did. And this could change everything and fast-track every single plan that the club has got. Because I think if we get into the Champions League with this structure, I think we then stay. This season could be the biggest season in terms of Manchester United's turnaround from the car crash and circus of a football club it has been for the last decade. It's massive now. And when you look at it that way, as a fan, it's easy for us to say, but surely people at the club are looking at this and going, we need to invest in January to make sure that this happens this season. This is how important this is now. It's got to be, hasn't it? Surely. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on that. Get them comments in the comment section, everybody, as well. And please give me your Thoughts on Conor Gallagher coming in? On which other 2 midfielders you would bring in? Let's not forget, I think it's a good point made by the comment section earlier on, which I've brought up. Orozco is already coming in this summer. He's a holding midfielder. You've got Kone. So that will be a 20-year-old and an 18-year-old ready to step up. Do you need to go out and buy 2 best-in-class midfielders along with that? That would probably be a more realistic look on it, I feel. But that's it for this morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on the live show. If you are watching later on, get your comments in, everyone. And, of course, make sure you pop a like on the video and hit that subscribe button. I will be back around about lunchtime, I think, with more content on a different story as well. And, of course, every other bit of news that comes out later on, I'll have it covered here on Forever United TV. Have a great Thursday, whatever you're up to, everyone, and I'll see you all in a bit.